Backstab drove around Detroit, took a few shots of the actual location scenes. Now in the novel, all this took place 15, 20 years ago. Right. So this first one, page covers, and they are sporadic, 85 through 87, and they kind of come back. That's just the way our adventure was in Detroit a couple days ago. So pages 85 through 87. In the book, I do not use real complete names. So in the book, Rob's name is Max, which is the name of his first boy. So I chose Max. I'm like, dude, Max is immortal now. So the protagonist, which is Backstab the Kingpin, Max balances rapid success with becoming a dad. So by page 85, he just came back from Los Angeles. He had a great experience. He opened up for Brian Austin Green, who was one of the characters from 90210. Brian Austin Green tried his own hip-hop scene. Rob went out there and they allowed him to open up for Brian. So that's the context of this image. Next. This is the outside of the house. So page 31, I read up here, ever had a hooker rob you? There is a scene in the novel where a hooker robs Backstab the Kingpin. And there's no blood, but there could have been a lot of blood. But Backstab and his friends gave up their money and their jewelry because she had a very sharp knife. Page 42, an after-hours store pulls a gun on Max. So Max is 17 years old, trying to get alcohol like we all did when we were 17 in an after-hours store. But when he walks up to the store, the guy doesn't know him and pulls a gun on him. That leads into a major dramatic story that, if you read the scene, you won't believe it. We were both agreeing, ironically, how it was, a little corruption back in the day, and there's still a homeless man here. We were kind of worried for him too. We didn't know if we should call 911 because the guy was kind of shaking, but you can see in the background, he still needs a lot of, progression here as a business. Page 28, I'm asking ever rob hookers for fun. So there are a few scenes where Backstab and his buddy rob hookers for fun. And again, it's a major contrast with what I did when I was a youth. I was just playing baseball and trading baseball cards. And then I heard his biography, I'm like, what the heck? So that's the actual location. Next. Page 70, the red door. The break-in rap. So this is the red door. Here, he was originally hired as a bouncer or an assistant, but then the DJ left. So they needed a DJ. So this is his first actual break as a rapper. He started rapping over beats. The people in the club thought it was an actual album. So that's where his confidence took off. Next. Same thing, the red door where anything goes. Now, from what I've heard, in the red door, the club, anything goes. Like literally anything goes. So that's the context of this picture. Next. Again, the red door because it's such a fascinating club and scene. So, the red door with Backstab the Kingpin, reliving wild memories. So again, this is where his rapping talent evolved. This is his first break, out of the blue. Kind of like in life when the cards fall in the right stack, you're like, wow, I guess it's meant for me to be here. Next. Again, the red door, rapping over beats. So, page 53, Abdul Rahib Bey, character introduction, the man with the plan. So Abdul is a Vietnam veteran who he met Rob in an interesting fashion and encouraged him for several years later to pursue his talent as a rapper. So this is the actual apartment where Abdul and Backstab lived. Page 50. And this is the outside of the apartment. They met. I'm guessing it was right here by the tree. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to do a few readings from several pages. So the first reading is from the opening, because he is 6 years old, and what he experiences in this scene is, again, contrast with what I dealt with. I never dealt with what you're about to hear. And again, it's only 10% fiction, and this opening scene really happened to him. So the first chapter, I titled it Messed Up Childhood because there's no peace in his childhood whatsoever. So I'm going to read pages 5 through 7. This is the opening of the book. So, 6-year-old white boy with a tint, Max Worthington, this is what I call Rob, looked at his black friend who tried to swing higher on the swing than big for his age Max, but no luck. Max gripped the rustic steel swing, clearly touching the clouds, while his friend tried to simply keep up. Sweat oozed out of their collars. Max let go of the swing, flew into the air, smiled at the landing strip of sand, and planted his feet like an Olympian. His friend's swinging slowed to concede the loss. Max grinned at his friend. That's 5 in a row. His friend's face quickly went from a second-place grin to the look of fear. His eyes yelled for his mom. Max turned his face toward the 4 black men who held 40-ounce beers in their jovial grips, their gold teeth sported with bandanas and baseball caps to the side. "Come here, roaches," said one of the black men. Max's friend started to walk away but was grabbed by the hair and slammed to the sand. They poured beer over his hair. "Now drink it," one of them commanded. Max's friend started to cry. He drank from the bottle, then touched his teeth to see if they cracked after the bottle slammed against them. Max remained frozen and his eyes began to water. "Your turn, big boy," said one of the men. "How old are you? You're a tall boy." Max's friend tried to run away, but got slapped and pushed to the sand. Max held back his tears, grabbed the 40-ounce of beer and took a sip, then another sip. The 4 men cheered Max on. Max handed the bottle to whoever wanted it and puked all over the sand. "Yeah, that's right, you a bad boy now, kid," yelled the young man with a gun tattooed next to his left eye. A joint was pushed against Max's lips. Max tightened his lips and refused. Someone grabbed him by the hair and pulled his head back. "Smoke it, or we'll call Mike Belly and tell him you're on your way home." By now, Max was shedding a river of tears. He grabbed the joint, inhaled and coughed again, and dropped to his knees. All the men laughed. The young thug started to walk away when one of them yelled, "We're going to call Mike Belly and tell him 2 little boys are walking home." You know how crazy Mike gets when he sees little boys. So that scene is based on a real event that occurred. So the next reading is from chapter 2. I call it the chapter A Wild Coming of Age. My coming of age was not as wild as Backstab. So chapter 2 is pages 14 through 17. So at 13 years old, in a rural area, Max and his mom pulled up to her dad's house. She leaned over and kissed his cheek. "Be careful, have lots of fun, and I'll see you a week before August." Her arm stretched across the car and pushed open the door. Max lifted the suitcase off his lap and stepped out of the car. She drove away down the dirt road, leaving Max holding his suitcase, planting his mind on his grandpa's 2-acre house. On a sunny June afternoon, Max and his 4 friends, all 13, kneeled behind a car near the street. Max's grin was up to no good. His friend handed him a lighter, and Max flicked it on. The flame warmed itself next to 3 bottle rockets that rested on a standing cinder block, aimed toward the rural street just 100 feet away. A 4-door car approached. "Straight to the tree if it hits the car. Don't anyone make me trip," Max reminded. The car got closer. Bottle rockets began to sizzle. Teenage smiles displayed teeth. The rockets took off as the boys stared with anticipation. 3 rockets flew proudly, forcing the car to swerve and continue on its way. Laughing, the boys pounded the ground in jubilation. 2 minutes later, another car approached. 3 more bottle rockets faced the road like soldiers ready to fight. Max held the lighter. "Let me do it next, come on," said one of the white kids. "When your grandpa buys you shit, then you can do whatever you want with them," Max replied. "Whatever," the kid replied. Fire kissed the bottle rockets. Exciting summer music filled the air. All 3 rockets shot toward the car, dead set on perfect timing. They hit the car's hood. It swerved to the left, off the road, and slammed its hood into a tree. The boys froze. Freaking out, Max took off running. The rest followed his escape. On another summer afternoon, Grandpa Steven stared into his bedroom mirror, fixed his hair, and turned to Max, who entered drinking a glass of water. "The Tigers are playing. Third inning, I think. Run and turn up the volume of the TV," he told Max. In the living room, Max watched a baseball game as his grandparents stood in front of him and blocked the TV. His grandma kissed his forehead. "The fridge is full of food if you get hungry. We'll be back in a few hours." Minutes after his grandparents left, there was a knock on the door. A smiling 14-year-old friend held a fishing rod. "Got any ketchup?" Max searched through the fridge, pulling out eggs, ketchup, grapes, while his friend returned from the bedroom with a black sock in his hand. His friend held the sock over the sink. Max gently placed 2 eggs inside the sock, 2 handfuls of grapes, and carefully laid the sock in the sink. His friend held a plastic sandwich bag over the sink as Max squeezed ketchup into it, filling the sandwich bag and then placing it inside the sock. "Careful with the eggs, careful," laughed his friend. Their smile filled the room, and their teeth shined off the sun's rays. Max tied a knot at the end of the black sock. The 2 boys laughed and tried to keep their cool. In the middle of the rural street, Max placed a fishing hook into the black sock. His smile was up to no good. His friend held the fishing rod. Both boys kept a watchful eye up and down the street. Trees and 2-acre homes were the only audience at the moment. Max walked across the street and lovingly placed Grandpa's pudgy black sock on the ground, just past the edge of the street. He scurried back to where his friend waited, and both boys ran behind a dumpster. Max took the rod from his friend. A car was in sight. The car got closer. Another car was behind it. Max reeled the sock a bit. From their angle, it looked like an animal slowly crossing the road. His friend started to laugh. Max reeled more and more. The car got closer and closer. The black animal continued hopscotching across the road. The car got closer. Max yanked the fishing rod, sending the sock into the air. The car smashed into it. The hood and grill were covered in animal guts. The car hit the brakes. The male driver and the female passenger walked out of the car to investigate the animal they just hit. The boys took off running, laughing their ass off with the fishing rod in hand. So I never did anything like that when I was 13 years old. So the next reading is from page 58. This is with Abdul, the buddy who encouraged him to pursue rap. So here are 2 pages. Under cold skies and a light sun, Abdul and Max went for a stroll in the neighborhood. At a corner in front of a tiny park, Abdul stopped Max. A group of young black men gathered in a circle. Their winter clothes made them look like a team of some sport. One of them rapped while everyone else placed their ears closely. Abdul tossed his open palms at the group. "I love this shit. You like this shit too. I hear you play this kind of shit all the time. I could bust out raps too. Name me someone famous you listen to." "The Delivery Man. He just released an album called Come Get It." "Why don't you jump in and rap with these guys? I'll tell them you know the Soldier." "All I rap about is stuff I know, like bitches, drugs, hoes, guns, cops. But I'm just a white boy. They laugh or kick my ass if I start rapping this kind of shit. They won't believe me. They think I'm a poser, which means a person who talks the talk but doesn't walk the walk. What else could you rap about? You're half Native American. Rap about that shit." The rapper completed his rap and got applause, and some money in his bucket. Abdul raised his arm and spoke to the black men. "Fellas, my white friend here would like to rap for you guys." They all laughed. Abdul pushed Max into the circle. "Sing some anti-racism shit," Abdul whispered to Max. "That way they won't kick your ass." While in the circle, towering just like most of the black men in the cold circle, Max took a deep breath and started rapping. "I call this real deal. I'm not black, I'm not white, I'm dark red, and I'm bright. I got no gang because my people are nowhere in sight. This ain't right, shut up and sit. I'm going to tell you my little bit about this bullshit, how my people got fucked with. This started back when this was our land until the white man showed up with a gun in his hand and said, 'Yo, we're going to sit and dine.' So they all queued up like a welfare line, and everyone started to talk but I wish my forefathers would have got up and walked away because those motherfuckers lied and they taught us the meaning of genocide. The crowd went wild and smiled at the only white boy in a circle of 10 blacks. Abdul placed his arm around Max and patted his back in honor. Some people tossed money in the bucket near Max's legs. So the next couple of pages. Alright, this is the rising climax. This is why he had to leave Detroit with his 2 daughters to stay alive. So, page 58 through, 105 through 107. This takes place in the house you saw here with his wife. In the kitchen, sitting on a chair, Kiana twirled her finger in a bowl of pudding. With his ironwork uniform and a dirty, rusted face, Max leaned his back on the sink, staring and losing himself in Kiana. Cindy walked in holding their newborn baby girl, Sarah. 4 phone calls today. Too much, Cindy said with anger. All of them said your head is on a plate. You just don't know it. Shit, if they kill you, who's going to take care of the girls? Why did you have to open your big mouth? Time to grow up and stop playing games. Cindy, I didn't mean for this to happen. It's nothing about growing up. These guys just take shit too serious. The phone rang. It startled Cindy. She jumped, making Sarah cry. Another ring. Max and Cindy stared at the phone. 4, Cindy said. Sarah's crying increased. Another ring. Max snatched the landline phone. Yeah? He listened. Cindy lifted Sarah at a more comfortable spot on her shoulder. She then grabbed Kiana's chair and pulled it out of the kitchen. Max reached toward a cabinet and brought down a vodka bottle. Yeah, how much? Okay, that works. 15? Yeah, I know how to get there. Bye. Cindy returned to the kitchen. What's up? She inquired. That was Music Live TV. They want me to be on the show, Make Them. $1,000 to turn this black girl from the suburbs into a rapper. With an attitude, Cindy responded, so they're going to kill you in the show. They'll see your face on TV and they'll know. I'm not running. We need the money. That's suicide money. You get enough hours at work. Max drank from a glass of vodka and unbuttoned his shirt. I know it pays well, but I'm tired of the fear. Looking down below from up there makes me feel like I'm in the front lines of a war with no cover and from above. I need this show. I have worked hard in the underground scene and now I just might be able to be in their playing field. I'm practically the underground king and now it's time I hit the other side of the global village and increase my castle. A hot tub? A waterbed? Cindy smiled. And last, this scene is from Florida, where I met him. From the exact beach where I met him. This is 116 through 118. So chapter 7 is Florida to start over. At the airport, Max held Kiana's hand and pushed Sarah in a baby stroller. They entered the corridor labeled Gate 39. 2 years later. Under a sunny sky and next to a few people on the sand, Max lied on a towel next to Michelle, 27, thick and developed, both on their back tanning. Sarah, now 4, ran up to Max and reached for his sunglasses. Max got up, startled. Oh, and don't forget more. Sarah jumped in. Sunblock. It's the Sunshine State. Good girl, Max replied and lied back down. In the distance, pelicans dove into the ocean, the breeze lifted Michelle's hair, a cell phone vibrated, and Max picked up. It's my tan time, what up? He answered. On the other end was Nicole. What are you doing besides getting color? Besides turning inside out, I'm lying here broke as fuck. Did get a few new tattoos. I'm broke as fuck too, welcome to the club. Max sat up, it's been 2 fucking years. I've had to go back to my real job. Michelle slid her hand on Max's crotch. He smiled and pressed his hand over her hand and harder on his crotch. He then lifted her hand away. Nicole responded, I've also had to get my old job back. You need to come back home and play again. Max stared at the sun. Nikki, I'm never going back. I'm looking at the ocean right now. You never been down here. You need to come down here and see why I'm never leaving. Max eyed a hot woman in a bikini walking the shoreline. I love the water, he spoke into the phone. Michelle turned over and lied on her stomach, exposing her yellow G-string bikini. Max looked at her butt, looked at the shoreline where Sarah played on the crashing shore. He smacked Michelle's butt. She didn't react. Max smiled at the sea breeze. I'm learning to surf. And even though, as he moved the phone away from his ear and looked at the call waiting, he then returned the phone to his ear. Kiana is calling on the other end. Friends pool. Even though I don't have a lot of friends and I don't relate to all the Florida people, this is it. This is my life. This is what I've always strived for. I feel retired. I feel like I left the game. Cindy would have wanted this piece for the girls. Nicole jumped in. Last I heard, she's getting into rehab, but don't know if she followed through. Anyway, we need to talk. I'm actually in Orlando. Awesome, right now? Shit, get down here. It's just an hour away. I'm renting a car. Or maybe you could play a concert back home every 6 months. I'm not risking my life for one night. We'll hire a militant protection team. I looked into it. $2,500 for the week. And that's pretty much it for the reading. So that was a taste test of the book. Again, it's only about 10% fiction. Most of it is all based on actual events. The book goes for $10. My first book goes for $8. I have 2 book reviews there from my first book from 2 different magazines. And I'll be here till 7. I really appreciate you showing up, supporting Detroit's literary scene. Thank you for your time.